You are listening to Framing the Future podcast, presented by the Architectural Authority magazine.
But for me, I really like to tell a story with my projects. I want to make sure that I know what feeling I want it to evoke, or versus the client, what feeling they want to feel in their space, and make sure that I'm capturing that in the design by going very slowly and not rushing the process, making sure I do a lot of research. Research is so vital for everything.
This episode is sponsored by our partners at Citco USA, with the largest selection of marble in all South Florida. Visit Citco's showroom at Doral and enjoy their extraordinary design collections, including iconic works by renowned artists such as Zaha Hadid, Anish Kapoor, Ferruccio Laviani, Ora Ito, and many more. Framing the Future podcast dives deep into the heart of architecture education and the journeys of those driving the field. We bring you authentic, personal stories from students, graduates, and educators. Let's explore their motivations, learn from their challenges, and celebrate their triumphs. This is your space to connect, learn, and be inspired. Thank you for joining us, and let's get started.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Framing the Future podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Leon, and today is joining us a talented individual in the field of interior design who has just graduated with her bachelor's degree from the University of Florida. She's now set to embark on an exciting new chapter in Florence, Italy, where she will be starting her master's degree. Her work is driven by a deep passion for interior design and a unique philosophy of creating stories through her designs. She aims to achieve a harmonious balance between nature and humanity in every project she undertakes. Welcome to the show, Isabella.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we were talking earlier, and where does your passion and inspiration for interior design comes from? You have a very beautiful story.
Thank you. So I was born and raised in Ecuador, in the mountains. I would be in a farm most of the time, So I think that it was very special to be able to grow up so disconnected from kind of urbanization. And later on, I moved to Miami. So it was a very different...
very drastic.
Yes, very drastic change.
From the mountains, yeah.
So I think I got to experience both, best of both worlds in that regard. And also growing up in Miami, seeing the amazing architecture and projects that have been done here, it was very inspiring to be able to create a mix of both of them. Having that cultural architecture, but also incorporating nature was very important to me.
And how has been the role of your parents in that passion for interiors?
I think I'm very blessed to have grown up with very creative parents. My mom loves interior design. She has always fixed and flipped our houses since I can remember. So I've always seen it happen in my eyes. And my dad is also a very creative person. He wishes he was an architect, actually. So he's very excited to see me doing it and tries to do it with me sometimes. We'll draw up plans on PowerPoint and ask me to read them, and I would be
That's
like,
good.
what is that?
I remember those very, like myself, to starting painting and discovering that creative path since a very young age. So you started in FIU and then you transferred to UF. How was that change? And also, what would you say are one of the most challenging and also rewarding aspects of your 2 years in UF?
Yeah. So I started studying international business at FIU, which I think was a great thing. I think having a background in business was really beneficial for me, and I think it will be very beneficial for me in the future. And I was able to get all my prerequisites done through that. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do in the beginning of my career, which is very common. Most people don't really know what they want to do, which is why they go into business. So that was why I decided to do that. And I did an internship at a design firm my freshman year of college. So that inspired me to change my major. And UF was always my dream. I love UF. My brother actually went there, so I would visit all the time, and I just knew that that's where I wanted to go. So I made the change, and it was very challenging at first. especially because I didn't have a lot of information on how it started really interior design. I think I just thought it was going to be picking wallpapers and
Not just that.
yeah, and light
It's more
fixtures.
complicated.
It's a lot more complicated than that. And I had to start with architecture. So that was something I didn't expect. I didn't know I had to go into architecture. So I was very unhappy actually first, because I just thought, I don't care about the exterior. I just care about the interior. You know, I just want to design houses, and I don't know why I'm building these models.
And that's one of the things that is different from FIU, that you have in the first year, I think, no? They mix interior design and architecture together. And I think it's a good combination because that prepares you better to work on teams, to have a better understanding of the both worlds.
Yeah.
But it's really nice that to see that there's something different. And you said that it was very depressing.
Yes, it was very depressing. I was on a rotation of energy drinks.
Oh my God, yeah.
So not a lot of sleep.
I understand that.
Especially because it was an accelerated program in the summer since I transferred.
Yeah.
But there was obviously pros to it. I made so many friends along the way. You kind of have to spend your entire day and night in a studio building. So it's bound to happen that you make long-lasting friendships with the people in your studios. And I think it was awesome to get to know the students in architecture because they saw the project so differently than us. I feel I remember starting to build and always having in mind like kind of a house, you know, walking through a house and having that layout. And I was quickly stopped by my professors and told, no, don't think about it like that. It's supposed to be out of the box. No boundaries, you know, it's very conceptual, just go crazy with it. And I think that was really hard for me to kind of, I don't know, start seeing it differently.
Different. Yeah.
So I learned a lot from my architecture friends.
That's great.
And they were very helpful too because they've known they wanted to do architecture forever. So they've been doing kind of things like that their whole life and building. And I don't even paint, I don't draw. So it was so difficult for me to start cutting with my hands and
I know, and then glue
things
with your fingers. But I think that gives you a lot of, you know, like skills then to do other things and also sketching. So, and in a project, let's talk about one special. It's called the Boutique Hotel.
The Boutique Hotel.
Can you tell me more, and can you tell them more about this project, where the inspiration comes from, and how's your design process thinking when you have a project?
Of course. Before we get into that project, though, since we're in architecture, I want to talk about this project that I did with a group that was very interesting. It was called Flamingo Starship. And basically the point of that project was that it had to be standing on one leg and floating. So the professor was like, figure it out. And basically my group and I spent so many hours in the studio thinking how we're going to do this. How do you make a model float?
A model float in one leg.
In one leg. So we built this base made out of plaster. So plaster, you have to build a mold out of it, out of styrofoam. So, and then you have to let it dry. And most of the time it comes out bad. So it was like 30 different tries of getting the plaster mold. Then we would stick the model on top of the plaster and then wait for it to dry. And then when we wanted to make it flow, we suspended it with rubber bands. So I think it's just very interesting because you think about things.
Yes, and it's very creative. It makes you think and find solutions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't, you know, like be exposed to that or. So that's nice. That incentivizes more creativity.
And having those late nights at the architecture studio prepared me so much for the late nights in interior design because it doesn't compare. Architecture is so much worse.
Don't tell me that.
It's so much worse just because you're physically building and your back hurts and you cut yourself and you're bleeding and then your model breaks. Sometimes we would just show up to studio and our model was broken.
So in interior design, you didn't do as much after you got separated from the architecture, you know, like semester. did you have to build that many models interior? No?
Not one.
Not one.
Not one.
Wow.
Not
okay.
one.
So
Yeah.
it was mostly like renderings and okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hand drawings, hand renders, elevations, construction documents, and renders.
And how the construction documents, because I think that's an important process in every design, architecture, interior. How much you have, taught construction documents at school?
I wish it had been more, honestly. We had 2 classes, level 1, level 2 for construction documents, and construction documents is really hard. You have to know the inner work of a cabinet and know every single detail that goes into it and the section of it.
The section, yeah.
And a bunch of other things. So I think that requires more time. You learn by doing it over and over and failing and trying again. So I just don't think we had enough time to properly fail, enough times to continue learning. Because a lot of the things that now I know is because I did them wrong once upon a time.
Exactly. I think from the mistakes,
yes,
you learn a lot.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid, I would say, to make mistakes, but don't repeat it.
Yeah, don't repeat them.
Don't repeat that.
There's no space for mistakes in design.
So you had some experience while studying. Can you tell more about that balance between studying and working is?
Of course. So in school, the kind of way a project would go would be you would be given kind of the basics. So you're going to be doing a hotel and they would tell you it's going to be in this location. So for example, the one we were going to talk about, that one was located in British Columbia in Canada. So it was a historic building that had been redone many times and they wanted to build, hypothetically, a boutique hotel in this building. So you would think of maybe 3 ideas that you would want to go conceptually, and then you do research on these 3 ideas. Then you pick an idea that you think would go, and then you do further research. So the idea that I picked for this project was to incorporate the cultural duality and connection between French and British culture in Canada, which is really big. So Upper Canada, Lower Canada. And I did a lot of research on it, and I took a lot of inspiration from both architectural histories, so French and British, which was very fun to do. I loved it. And then you kind of start planning the floor plans, finishes, kind of furniture you want to go with. And it's very difficult to work with a historic building, which I think that's why they did it, because there comes a lot of issues and you learn from these things. So I wanted to put a spa in the last floor, and that's not possible in a historic building. Well, that's what my professor told me.
A spa?
Yeah,
a spa.
Yeah,
oh,
so like kind of like a spa pool in the top floor, and the plumbing wouldn't work for that. So when you're studying, you don't really think about those things. You're like, everything's possible. There's no budget.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they bring you down to earth really quick. And I didn't end up doing that, but it was really fun. It took a long time to render. It was an individual project, so the entire semester, and it was our thesis.
Oh, that was your thesis?
Yes, that was our thesis.
Nice.
So it was really fun.
So what were one of the challenges that you faced was that of the the plumbing and making it real.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that project?
I learned a lot of things. I think sometimes I think very aesthetically and not so functionally. Like I just knew I wanted a grand staircase, but for what reason? There has to be a why. Why do you want this, and how are you gonna, show that there's a reason? Because in a real project, your client's going to be like, okay, I'm going to put the budget for this, but why are we doing this? Is it going to attract more clients? Is it going to create a better experience? So I think starting to think about the things that you're putting and being very meticulous and
very detailed and very conscious about, because you mentioned the budget is really important. And sometimes, as creative minds that we have, we envision this beautiful design, but at the same time, how realistic it is, and you're also working with clients that make a lot of decisions sometimes for you. So in that area, what are the challenges that you have faced working with clients that, like they want continuous changes or they're not sure what they want? How do you guide them through that process of design?
I think it depends on the project. If it's like we were talking about, if it's a residential project, I think you have to be really there with them emotionally because it's going to be their home. So they're very invested in everything and they're going to be living there and they want to feel happy and comfortable. And you want to make sure that they feel like, as a designer, the whole point is to have a happy client and make sure that the design is what they wanted and it's successful. So I think it's just about having patience. Yeah. It's tough, definitely, because it's not easy to make change, especially if the project's very far along. But making sure that you give them a lot of options and you show them visually and that they understand before you move forward, I think would be the best way to deal with that.
Agree. Yeah. And in your designs, what are the design philosophies that you bring to every project? What is the main concept that, regardless of the changes or what the clients want, what that was something that you want to say, that's me, that's my CEO.
Yeah, my seal.
My seal.
I think honestly, it just comes sometimes. When I've seen my peers, my other friends that study interior design, and they show me one of the renders, I can just tell it's them. And I can just, they tell me the same, I just know this is Isa. So I think that it depends on your design philosophy and the things that you like to carry on in your project. But for me, I really like to tell a story with my projects. I want to make sure that I know what feeling I want it to evoke, or versus the client, what feeling they want to feel in their space, and make sure that I'm capturing that in the design by going very slowly and not rushing the process, making sure I do a lot of research. Research is so vital for everything, and just polishing everything.
Yeah, I think having a strong concept and with your projects as well, it makes you more confident of yourself.
Definitely.
And how has been your experience where you're presenting a project to a professor or during your thesis? We started very shy, we don't know what to say. So how for you, how was that process of communicating your ideas? What did you find helpful for yourself to do that made you better?
Yeah. I think knowing that I worked super hard on my projects was very calming to me. I knew that when I would stand in front of my pinned up project, I was proud of it. And I think it takes time for you. You start learning and you start developing more as a designer, and you start getting more confident with what you're putting out. So it's easier to stand there and explain, especially if you know very well your project and you did the research and you're very emotionally attached to it too. I feel like there's definitely been some projects that I didn't feel as connected to, and I wouldn't present them as well because I was just like, it's just
didn't feel it.
Yes, I didn't feel this one, so it's not. I don't feel like it's representing me, so you don't really have that much to talk about. But when you're very passionate about something, and you're proud, it just comes. And also, I would be very scared of receiving feedback, like negative feedback.
Yeah.
Because it's a very scary thing for a professor to be like, what did you do? What is this? This is horrible. Delete it. Trash. But they would never say that. That's a horrible thing. But at the end of the day, I just have to remember that I'm a student. I just started.
And you have to absorb everything to, be open also for criticisms and different perspective, because, sometimes, we take it personal. But at the same time, it's your point of view. I respect it, and that's the way I think that we evolve as professionals. Yeah.
No, definitely. I acknowledge better so much more when my professors would tell me the things they didn't like specifically and like would go very deep into it rather than just walk by and say like good job, because it just means that they like want me to succeed and they want me to grow. Same with my friends. I would ask them like, be honest. Like, if you don't like this wallpaper, tell me now.
I love feedback. I love for people to, like when I'm doing a project, to receive that feedback. Sometimes people are like very, like, because they don't want to hurt you or they don't want it to make you feel bad. No, all like todo lo contrario. Like, it's better to see different, perspective.
Yeah.
And so the programs that you have used, which one is the most that you like, that the ones that facilitate more the design process? And also, have you tried any of these artificial intelligence render tools to make your design concepts better?
So I started off using AutoCAD and SketchUp, which then I later on moved on to Revit, and now I only use Revit. I think the best is Revit, but that's a personal opinion. A lot of companies have been using the other ones for years, so it's kind of hard to make a switch, especially because Revit's relatively new. But I just think that having that 2-in-1 rendering and floor plan is...
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yes. It's amazing, amazing. And with Revit, you can use connection that's called Enscape. It's like an adaptation to it. So it'll make your renders realistic. And you can add people, like scalies. So when I first got that software and saw it really rendered for the first time, it was insane. Like, that feeling was crazy. It looks so real. It looks so real. And there's another one called Lumion.
Lumion. I never got to use Lumion, but I know a lot of my friends use that.
Yes,
too.
Lumion's a little bit better for architecture.
Yeah,
because you can place the model in any place in the world, and let's say it's in Malibu, the water will move, and the people can dance, and it's
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, really cool. Yeah.
I should start trying it now.
In regards to artificial intelligence, I haven't really dipped my feet in that too much. What I have used is on Photoshop. There's a tool that you can
love it.
Yes.
I love Photoshop, that where you can write and then something.
Yes.
And the best part that I like about that is that it will give you the picture or whatever you put with the same style that you have the render or whatever.
Yeah.
I use it for my art too, and it's very also, give you a lot of inspiration.
No, it's definitely been such a great tool.
Yes.
Especially because you can take a render, but you need to add some stuff to it.
Yes.
Better lighting.
And makes it faster.
Exactly. Yeah. The layers of Photoshop on a render make such a difference on your renders. And like, for example, for my hotel that I did, there was no pillow BIM object for Revit. So I had to Photoshop pillows into my beds, and it was so hard finding like pillows.
That's right. And sometimes you have to buy it because you have all these 3 like Waterhouse and with 3D modeling that
exactly.
Yeah, Photoshop makes it.
So Photoshop made it so much easier. Or for example, chandeliers, like very intricate French chandeliers, not on Revit, not on BIM objects. Like, you have to Photoshop it in. And sometimes Photoshop just looks Photoshopped. It just looks Photoshopped. Even if you're great at Photoshop, it just looks Photoshopped. So I think the AI tool really, really helped. Really, really helped with that.
So, and what would be like 3 advices that you would give to students who are starting, like in the career of interior design, they want to, or they are, just starting?
I think make sure it's your passion, because it's not an easy journey for sure. And it's important to have your own vision and to know where you want to be eventually, because that's what's going to get you out of bed every morning and make sure you stay up those nights, even though you're crying and hate your life, Jesus. Eventually, you know that it's for something, that you're working towards something, and that it's going to make you happy in the end. I would also say it's important to make sure that you, apart from school, you go your own way and try to learn other things too, because like I mentioned, they don't teach you construction documents so much in school, but it not something that I've specifically done, but I wish that I could go back and do it myself and start learning myself or take other courses and other classes just to advance myself a little bit more. Especially if you're graduating soon and you're going to be going into an actual firm where they need you to know how to do construction documents.
Have you used like any book, or have you watched any like program or videos that supports you in your knowledge for construction documents?
Of course, starting to use Revit is really difficult. It's like learning a new language, and especially architectural drawings. Something that you've never seen before. Maybe I've never seen them before at the time. So when you're looking at this and you don't know what it is, and there's a bunch of things that
start looking
so
also
confused.
to drawings,
exactly,
and kind of like start understanding what every symbol means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a textbook for it, which helps a lot. But I think that the best thing that helps me, not just with construction documents, but also learning how to render and how to draw on Revit, was YouTube. YouTube was amazing. There's so many tutorials on how to use Revit, and it's actually not that hard to pick up if you use it often. You just have to let go of that fear, because in the beginning, it was really, really scary. And I dreaded going to class for Revit because I didn't know what I was doing. So I felt, so,
like a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed, so overwhelmed.
Let's see what activities we did different in UFU and I SU.
Okay, let's do it.
So let's start with how we, like after in lunchtime, at FIU, we have a courtyard in the middle, and I will go there just under the sun, have my lunch, and have a walk around the building. That was something, like that I will do. Also, we had a lake very close, and I will go up and down the bridge, see the little like turtles and ducks. I think that was more or less the lunchtime and after school hours. And for you in UF?
Well, I lived right on campus basically, so I would go home. I would go home and make lunch. I think that's kind of a difference because Gainesville is in campus, like very on campus. School, and then FIU you drive there from home or
there's a lot of people who also they were like residents in the same campus. They just have to also to cross the bridge.
Also most of my classes were really early in the morning or ended at 12. So it just changed every semester. But definitely, I would see the architecture students, they would stay all day. So they would go to one of the little cafes and get something to eat.
I love cafecito. I had a cafetera in my studio.
Oh my God.
And that was something that I loved because I would make cafecito and and that smell would go to the third floor. But the thing is that the second floor and the third floor, it was a double high ceiling. So you would see the people in the third floor. And I have this guy, I forgot his name, but he was very nice. He was saying, Paula making cafecito, voy para abajo. I wanna get mine. And I would have just cups and tell everyone, hey, I did cafe.
Oh, you're the favorite in that studio.
Bueno, no, I wouldn't say that, pero yeah. The cafecito, la cafetera made a really...
If I had someone making me coffee every day, I would never leave either.
No, and people will go, Ana Paula, haz café.
Es hora.
It's hora de hacer café. No, at some point I had to say, I had to finish this model. I'm going to give you a cafetera, do you?
You do it. It's your job today, yeah.
But, yeah.
That's really fun. It shows the culture in studios.
The culture in the studios.
100%.
Yes. And how was, in Gainesville also, you have like an open studio and you can see people doing their models and everything.
Yeah, so actually the architecture building in UF is beautiful. Most people don't appreciate it because it's just all concrete. So everyone's like, this is an architecture building and it's just all concrete. But you don't understand until you study architecture because the building shows the inner workings of the architecture of the building. So it's very, very cool. It's amazing. It's epic. And all the studios are on the perimeters. So they're all glass windows. So you can walk through and see every studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
At FIU, so you drive and you have all this glass and all the models and the scratch from the scene. Yeah, it was very fun.
We would put on the walls like help.
Oh, I really. I will, like, my mom sometimes pass through the building. I said, Ana Paula, I don't understand. It's so late and there are people there working.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it's a hard career.
No, there was definitely people that slept there and woke up because class was at 9 a.m.
Exactly. I have a lot of like, no pictures, but peers that have shown me pictures of them, like sleeping or doing a model. It wasn't my thesis where I had to stay. I think it's the only time I had stayed until like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. at the studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not that late.
That's not that late, but see, yeah. No, I will say I was very organized.
Yeah.
I always, like kind of like achieve everything under the time that the professor required. And it's true what you say, like before entering the interior and architectural world, we don't appreciate or we don't understand the architecture. And for me, once I graduated, and through that process, I will see a building and I will understand and I will visualize it better. How can I make this better? Or there's a lot of things that we walk past by and we just like disregard. So
no, it's definitely something that I've noticed recently. That everywhere I go, I tell my friends, "Look, there's where they hit a column," and they're like, "What is wrong with you?"
Yeah, and also the in Miami, I think Miami needs like new designs. Sometimes it's everything about the same. More when you go to the suburbs, there's lack of good design, pedestrian designs. Like the sidewalks are so narrow. So I will see like there's so much still in this city that we need to improve. That hopefully our generations, it has to do también, also a lot of politics as well in that case. But, just being out there, being out, giving your voice about and your designs, your philosophy, the change that you want to make, and you're being consistent with that.
Yeah. I think something really big right now that every designer should prioritize is sustainability.
Yeah.
Especially because it's just so important for us to make a difference in that regard and make sure that we're helping the earth in some way.
We still have a long...
There's a long way to go.
Long way to go.
And it's hard, for sure, to make things completely sustainable or,
It just be more conscious about also the choices.
Yeah.
So where to get inspiration from?
Where do I get inspiration from? In traveling. Traveling.
How many places have you traveled?
I don't know. Not that many.
Wow.
I just don't know, but I think that specifically in South America and in Europe, I've witnessed the most inspiration.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where do you get more inspired, like in architecture?
I think that, for example, I was just in Ecuador visiting my family, and they always take me to El Centro de Quito. I've been a million times, and they just always want to take me because I think I haven't been there before. I don't know. I lived there for 10 years, and they don't know. But the last time I went, I was a little bit younger. Now I'm 23. So I go and I'm looking at these buildings, and I was actually in shock because it was so beautiful. Like the attention to detail, everything that was crafted so perfectly. I think I just hadn't noticed how inspiring it was to see that architecture in my own country.
In your own country.
Because when I would think about my own country, I would just think of nature, and I would think of mountains and
but
modernism.
That's beautiful too, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then I saw the historic architecture side of it, which I see mostly in Europe. So I think that back in the day, they would just go the extra mile, because you see these buildings and you're like, how did they build this? How did they do such ornate molding and the ceilings with gold and plaster and everything?
I don't know. I think people were more, I don't know.
It was more artistic.
They
just wanted they wanted it to be art.
They were more in love, I would say.
That's a great take.
I think so, because, we have gone, if you see how the design has gone through, that very detailed begins to minimalist. There's nothing wrong with being minimalist.
I love minimal.
But at the same time, we lose that visual to find details, to find, like it's not the same to have, like you say, like a wall or molding that is just flat, or something that has more work to it. It gives it more meaning, more emotion. So it's not that people are not in love, but I think people were more in touch with
their emotions,
themselves, with life. And
definitely, I agree. I think nowadays, since there is such a shift to minimalism, it's just about incorporating both of them in a seamless way. Having that calmness of minimalism and bringing in like specific details to catch the eye.
Something important about architecture and interior design is for designers to be more conscious about how the space affects, people. So how do you see yourself implementing that idea of emotions in your designs and creating a space?
Yeah. So it depends on what kind of project you're working on. If you're, for example, I worked on a hospital design.
A hospital.
So in hospital design, that's really, really big because you're working with people that are sick. So how can you as a designer improve their stay in a hospital? And that was a group project that I worked on, and we used biophilic design, but very minimally because hospitals can have a bunch of plants. It's not like ADA regulated. I don't know.
It has to be.
It's not allowed, but they don't want to be cleaning or watering plants. They have other things to worry about, clearly. But we incorporated circadian lighting systems to help.
What is circadian lighting system?
So circadian lighting is the circadian system in your body. It starts or it activates or stops depending on a specific light. So, for example, they tell you to, when you first wake up, to go get sunlight because it activates your circadian rhythm. So it wakes you up. And that night, since it's dark, it like slows down your system.
It slows down your system, yeah.
So, for example, if there was a triage situation or fast track where it was maybe 3-4 in the morning and they needed to examine a patient, but they needed them to be awake, they would change the circadian lighting to something more bright to wake them up. So it's like a specific
like changing the lighting.
Nice. Yes. So, or vice versa, it can be the middle of the day, but the patient needs to sleep. So they would change it.
Yeah, they would change it.
That also gave them autonomy over their space. So you're in a hospital room, so you feel kind of like, this is not my home. You feel weird, but it kind of gave them also a way to have control over their space. And apart from that, I think that maybe in a hospitality setting, so a restaurant or something more fun, incorporating a lot of different lighting or colors or ergonometry in furniture. I think you can play around with how you make a space
to feel
because
good,
depending on the vibe you want to go for. But I think that design has a lot of
flexibility and give you that like route to being innovative and to create a connection with architecture and the human part of it. I recently, like, my grandma was, was in the hospital like last week, but she's good now. But when I went to the emergency room and after the emergency room, it was so depressing. Like, she just had a small window in her room with the light. It was 12 a.m., 1 a.m., and there was no enough light coming in from. So I was like, it's a hospital. Should make you feel like you're going to be better, like healthy, you're going to get out of that. But it was all the effect that had in her. It was all the reverse. She wanted to leave. She wasn't feeling good. So, and also the help of the family going to the hospital also is one of the things that make the patient, recover faster. And I was there, my mom, my sister. So I think there's a lot of ways that we need to think on architecture and how to create that connection with people.
Vice versa. The doctors.
Then yeah.
That's something else I feel like no one thinks about. No one thinks about the doctors that are going to be there every single day. So
yes,
it's just about making sure
the people that work there.
You think about everything, every person that's going to be experiencing the space, and putting yourself in everyone's shoes and seeing how it's going to make you feel, how it's going to help your day, how it's going to mobilize you.
I think a good survey would be like go to hospitals and ask doctors, nurses, even the cleaning people, like, how will you make this space better? What would you like to have different in this space? Also, not only with hospital, with nursing homes, bus stops. In Miami here are just, like very uncomfortable to be in a bus stop. There is a lot of heat. So it's just taking that extra step to make a difference.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand in the research aspect of design.
Exactly.
Because making sure you know how spaces are used, like where the high traffic areas are, it helps so much in really being able to create a successful design.
And a concept, yes.
Yes.
So what are your future plans? Now you're moving to Florence, and I bet you're very excited about it.
I'm very excited.
Yes, and what are your future plans after graduating with your master's? Are you planning to come back to Miami? What are your goals?
I love Miami. I love that it's a design hub.
Yes.
I'm very excited for Italy. It's also a big design hub.
Yes.
So I'm not sure entirely. I definitely see myself coming back to Miami. There's a lot of opportunities here and such great designers to look up to and learn from. But I haven't experienced all yet, so I guess time will tell. I would definitely love to gain more experience in the field, make sure I have a project in my hands from start to finish, and really dig myself deep into the life of a designer, and learn from mentors and great designers. I think that's like so valuable, and eventually I would like to start my own firm. Just because it's easier to execute your very specific vision when it's your company. So, yeah, I think that's every designer's dream, is to eventually be able to do that.
And do you have to pass any tests to get your license? Do you need a license
Yes.
in interior architecture?
Yes, you need to get the NCIDQ certification. So it's an exam, and I haven't taken it yet.
So is that that exam allows you to renovate like any interior? Because I know that, for example, to renovate a residence, an interior residence, you might not need a license, but is that a requirement to do like any type of interior design? Or
if you are going on your own, you need to have that license, pretty much.
Okay.
To my knowledge, I may be wrong, but if you're working under someone, usually they want you to get your NCIDQ certification. It's not required for everybody, but I think it allows you to be able to like sign. Yeah, as a designer. I am actually a certified designer. Yeah, it's just like that final certification.
And how many exams you have to?
It's just one.
Just one?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a very long and hard exam.
It's a hard exam.
Yeah. The practice textbook is like this big.
Oh my God. Well, architecture is 6 exams.
It's 6 exams.
6 exams. So this is important. How do you balance in that your studies life with school,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it just goes down to time management. Sometimes you have to say no to fun things because you have to stay home and do projects, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, but doesn't go to say that you have to stop your life for it, because
then you can burn out.
Exactly.
And,
it's not going to be worth it in the end. And this field takes up a lot of time. It's not a 9 to 5. It's 24 hours of the day. If you need to answer a call at 9 p.m., you're going to answer it, like the contractor or this or that. So I think it starts teaching you that in school because you're working like all the time. But I think once you love what you do and you're designing and it doesn't feel like work, it just feels like being creative.
Like being creative. And
Yes.
also you can manage more your time, also set boundaries with your work.
Yeah. Well, AI could be a great tool for that. I think that time management with AI would be great. I haven't dug too deep into the things that it can do, but I know that it can help, for example, with the rendering processes. So if a student needs some help, I mean, I'm not sure if schools allow the use of AI, but
Well, I'll say for the conceptual part of it, because right now I see AI like very rough, like they can give you an idea, but you need still to polish it.
no,
But
definitely.
it's great to, like, as a sort of starting point.
Yeah, no, AI can't replace the humanity of a designer.
But you know that is something super interesting. When I was working in an architectural office, two guys, they came to the office with the idea of developing a program for architecture where you use it automatically give you the space. For example, if in a bathroom, automatically adjusted with an ADA requirements and everything. Those guys were working like hours and hours without sleep. They were showing me, like every week they would go to the office and showing me the prototype. And I'll say, like, there's a lot of people out there trying to make that process maybe from conceptual to construction documents. It was that phase of construction document that sometimes it takes so long. And when you submit to the city also, that process takes forever. So it's how to make that process shorter.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely think that we have to learn with technology and grow
we
with
have
it.
to keep up with it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And not be scared of it, because I know a lot of people are scared that it's going to take their jobs, but you can use it as tools, like you said, and work with it,
Yeah, like 10 years before, none of this existed. So what would be the future of architecture like 10 years ahead?
I'm excited to see.
Yes, me too. And not to be afraid. So what are your hobbies? What would you like to do?
On my everyday, I love to work out with my friends. I like to go play pickleball, paddle. We like to go on walks. We like to go to the beach. Individually, I really love to read. I like English literature a lot. I think it's very interesting. I also like to bake, which is another creative outlet. And during COVID, actually, I had like a little bakery business.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's so cool.
And
so when COVID came, which year of study were
it? Was my freshman year.
Your freshman
year?
Was
2020.
Wow,
yeah,
man,
2020. So I was home making cookies.
No, a lot of people, I think they learn a lot of hobbies or
yeah, definitely.
Time. Nice. Which book are you reading right now?
Right now, I'm reading Evelyn Hugo, which is just like a little romance novel.
Oh, nice.
But my dad just gave me this book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich.
Oh my God, yes, I read it. I love that book.
Really?
It's really good.
Well,
it's really good.
He gave it to my brother and I for Christmas. He's like, your goal this year is to read this book. You need to read this book.
So he's the one who brings you from the romance world to the
he's
reality.
Like, put Leo Tolstoy down. We need Think and Grow Rich. But my brother, he was like researching this book, and he saw that the author actually went into debt. So it was really funny.
Yes.
that he's teaching how to think not go to debt, and then he was in debt. So
but if you see a lot of these huge companies, they all somehow in huge debts.
Yeah.
Like, debts is good.
Yeah, my
Depending
dad says that.
debt.
My dad says debt is not always bad.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to succeed in the end.
Exactly. So you have to make a smart choice. So
agreed.
So that's good. So something else I would like to, based on your experience, to say, like, inspiring, to live that word, like for the future. Now that imagine that you're watching this, like 5 years later, this interview, what would you say to your future you?
I would say that I hope that she's a much better version than me today. People always ask me if there are like specific designers that I look up to, and I think that it's important to like certain designers and their styles, but to always see yourself in the future as that's what I strive to be. Not I strive to be like Kelly Wersler. I strive to be like this or that, but I strive to be Isa in 10 years.
10 years.
And she will have her own style and she will make a change in her own way. Because, and if not, in the end, like, what are you adding to the design world if you're just hoping to be like someone that's already
exactly. You
already
need to find your own identity, and also being conscious of who you are makes that process better because you know where you're heading, and that's beautiful. I think that
Thank
to
you.
see that.
Yeah.
And I see in you a great interior designer, so I can't wait for you to finish your studies in Florence and see how that process unfolds.
Thank you so much. That's
Yes.
so nice.
So thank you so much, Isa, for being in Framing the Future podcast. It was a pleasure to have you here, and I hope you enjoyed this interview. And see you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Framing the Future podcast. Your 5-star reviews really help us continue what we do. Please rate your listening experience, and let's keep building this beautiful community together. For exclusive access to more design content, visit thearchitecturalauthority.com or download our app from the App Store or Google Play. Until next time, stay creative.